Okay,
let the background go.
Evening, folks, and welcome to the regularly scheduled developer Q&A here at EdgeCase, talking about Fractured Space. We've got a new patch that's just gone out live, so we're going to have plenty to talk about. So joining me tonight, we've got Jim, Creative Director, aka
wrong hand. There you go.
aka Too Many Blows to the Head. So let's kick things off. It's probably the best way to go is to start with the pre-prepared questions, which we've got from Twitter et al. So let's kick off. Over on Twitter, we've had Zerid has got in touch. Hello, Zerid. For Jim.
Yes.
Good job here.
Yeah.
Can the harpoon for the brawler also mark target? It's fine to have it be part of a pull, but it feels a little bit underwhelming as a button by itself. Detecting someone would be more than enough IMO to make it feel more complete.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of issues there. Not with the suggestion, which is great actually, but I'll explain why it's a good idea. The reason we like the way the harpoon works with the two systems is, one, it helps explain the functionality. Very, very simple. You send something out, you pull them in. It's a nicely communicated system. Although there's other ways we can do it that we might do in the future. But the thing Zerid's alluding to is the fact that you can harpoon an assassin and they can still cloak. And that's really frustrating, because even though you're still pulling them, you can't see you're pulling them, you've got no idea when to fight and when you can cuss, and it feels broken.
Okay.
So adding the text system to the harpoon would, the only thing that would actually do in gameplay terms is stop the assassin cloaking. And it would also give the harpoon an ability beyond just setting them up for the pull. So yeah, it is something we see value in, and we'll do some tests locally, and it won't now make Monday's patch, sadly, but it could well make shortly after that.
Sure.
I think it's definitely worth exploring. It's a good point.
I guess with the new ships, we've got new abilities in. Yeah, they're very green, right? So things are going to come up like this, and it's
we don't like. I mean, I don't know. In the game at the moment, you probably see locked out options on the new ships. We don't like providing options for the new ships until they've had a chance to breathe. People have had a chance to play them and feedback. There's been loads of good comments from people online about the ships and things have changed. Seraphine's posted, obviously Zerid's asked questions. There's things up there from Evolved, and we want to take people's comments on board and refine the ships and get them to a point and then go, okay, now they're roughly right, we can add loadouts, and that's kind of how we approach it.
I know it's just obviously quite exciting having two new ones in, because pretty much every game we played since yesterday it gets full up with new ships. It's a lot of fun to see people adjust to them in real time, isn't it? I think
they're good. They were good ones to go in. We've obviously added ships before. They've had like little instances, but the features behind those two ships are so clear. I mean, the brawler obviously has its pull, and the equalizer with its boost gate, and seeing people use that boost gate to evade ambushes, to evade brawler attacks, to just kite round conveniently around things, has been really, really interesting. And I think they still need work. They're not finished. We know there'll be issues with them, but I think they've sort of had a clear impact on the game, which is great. It's what we want to see. So yeah, no, it's very happy with them. The ideas from them came from different places. I mean, I've been wanting to get the pull in for ages, and Momocar now did like 3 different variants that we tried, and we went with the one we felt didn't break the game, but felt cool.
Yeah.
But there's variants there that we can play with later, and I think a lot of the ideas behind the equalizer came from suggestions that Willis made, but I think ultimately Momocan took the ideas and just made them work, and I think it's all down to him. I think they really work quite well.
Yeah, no, they're both real sort of game changers, aren't they? In very real terms, they make the game feel different. Okay, back to Zerid again on Twitter. Also for Jim. How will abilities that require a missile handle countermeasures once they're in? Would suck to have an ability just not happen because of the flak. Yeah,
I think we have an issue. That's an issue anyway with missiles. We've been talking about it because Gilby's checked in his code. We have it here. This long email on things that we need to take into account as we add small ships and missile countermeasures to the game. So it's a discussion we're having. At the moment, what you tend to do is you tend to add something so it doesn't drastically change the game, and then you balance with it. So obviously you don't want missiles to be automatically negated by anybody with a flat cannon. So there's a balance there on the speed and health of projectiles as they pass through, and things that affect them, CIWS systems, how they work. Ultimately, we need to get the work for all missiles. It will work for all missiles, so it will work for harpoons. It's just getting that balance. It could be that the harpoon's a very hard to kill missile, but it would still theoretically be killable. So yeah, it's a lot of iteration basically is the short, is the not very satisfying short answer.
I guess that's the name of the game, really, isn't it? It's just sort of the mantra, isn't it? It's reps and practice and testing. Lots of testing.
Yeah,
that's our game, right?
Obviously, there's some questions. I would jump to Mixie-Mac because I saw him play very effectively the other day. Yes and no. I think there were tests. The question basically is, did we expect the equaliser to eclipse the brawler? I think no. I think it's the short answer, mainly because we'd added a small ship to the Titan defence line before, and we'd got a few things wrong with it, and it'd been a bit underwhelming. And I think we're kind of getting to a nice place with it now. But and so we're adding another small ship to the Titan defence line, which wasn't ideal because it's a second small ship in the same line, which should have been, we wanted to have a medium or a large. Whilst they're coming, we were aware it's just another small ship, so we're worried that the equaliser wasn't, even no matter how good it wasn't going to grab anybody's attention. And so we were expecting the brawler's pull to, but the way it happened, we tested the brawler internally and it killed everything. It was just a massacre.
It was bloodbath, wasn't it?
And so the brawler had a mild nerf where essentially we brought the range back on the damage attenuation on the weapon. And this has come up on the forums as well, and that will be fixed, but we need to change the way damage works, so we can apply damage attenuation first. So the brawler had that, which meant he was actually roughly balanced. And then the equaliser went out, possibly without the same kind of checks. And but I don't think he's broken. I think he's really interesting. He's just really nimble, really good at kiting, and he's got a nice get agile free card with the boost gate. So I don't think we expected him to be. Actually, I don't. It's not that we didn't expect him to beat the brawler so much. I didn't expect people to pick up how to use him so quick.
Yeah,
I think that was really interesting to watch.
It's interesting to sort of my own observation, really. Just seeing like two new ships jump in to it's already a more populated space, that hangar. You know, it's so when the first new ships came in, because obviously we kicked off with like 6 ships, and then when the Enforcer and the Corvette jumped in, there wasn't necessarily a direct counter to those, like instinctively. Whereas now we've got more. It's quite. It's just a point. It's not really a question. It's just interesting to see.
I think
how big a variety impacts.
I don't think they were intended. I've talked a lot before about wanting ships to have their own impact and feel very different gameplay effects, but I think the problem was when we added the Enforcer and the Corvette, the impression was the Enforcer was like an impatient man's assassin. It's like you had the close range, but you didn't have to do all the sneaking and sort of tactical play that a lot of the good assassin players do. You could just move in, get in close and get the kill. And I think the Corvette felt like another healer, like the Disruptor, but he couldn't heal himself, which felt like a downgrade. And because we didn't have the percentage heal on him at the time, his heal was a bit broken. So they didn't make the impact that we kind of wanted them to, I think. Whereas with the Brawler and the Equaliser comes with the Purge Field, which used correctly can save lives, and the Boost Gate, which is very good tactical use. Plus he's fast, and his weapon is at least equivalent to the other small ships. Maybe not the frigate. But whereas the Brawler, as I say, he kind of could have been like VLR Cannon OTT or Assassin Original Plasma OTT, and we pulled him back. So he's in the realms of feasibility now, but the Equaliser didn't get that. Didn't get that refinement.
Should we just jump up here to Magcast 13? And we were just talking about this before, but will Commander Jingles be in game during early access?
Right. So that's a good question. We've got the samples and we're processing them, and we've got to go through and get those in. There's a couple of things to it. There may be some paperwork, I'm told, that we need to get sorted. When you have voiceover, you have to have sign off. We don't know. James Brooksby, Magcast style, may know if that's the case. I don't. So there's like technical issues to get out of the way. But we're doing more voiceover recording for other roles the end of March. So those would come in at the end of April. We should easily be able to get Jingles in before then. So he'll definitely be in for early access. The plan, as I think I've said before, is to be available in game. It won't be DLC or bought with money or anything. He'll be in game somewhere. We might put a soft currency unlock on him, more to test the system than anything else.
Yeah, well, that's.
I mean, one thing I should probably say is Magcast style sent all the samples over to Jingles, and obviously Jingles had a lot of fun with not safe for work lines. I kind of want to get it out early because I know it's going to be disappointing to some people who've already said we probably won't be able to get all the not safe for work lines in the game. There's a lot of good jingle improv that we can get in, but some of those are going to have to go.
I think it's important to be clear about that. I mean, because I don't think we're age rated, right?
So, well, exactly. And because we want to put them in the game so everybody can get to them without paying money, we have to kind of follow certain rules. So that's the intention.
It's definitely important to clear that up, I think. So. But cool. Okay, I guess that clears up the jingle question immediately. Okay, back to Maxi, who I've seen on the battlefield many a time. So nice to see you, Maxi. More general question: are there plans for a command class vessel that provides persistent buffs to allies and a radius around it, or maybe even to the entire lane? Like a mega flag.
Mega flag. Well, yes, kinda. I don't know if Maxi's been following any of the forum posts on the carrier. The carrier, it comes up every time. And we should actually talk about the carrier. Yes, is the short version. There are plans for remote vessels that influence play beyond their location. A full lane, not an AoE for the lane, but we fully expect the carrier to be able to send squads, bomber squads, fighter squads, etc., to any target within a lane, and then support and try and hold a lane that way. So yes, the trick with the carrier is, so we got all of Stanith's code checked in today to build all the small ships, which we're incredibly excited about, but that means me and Al, on top of having to try and create new ships and everything else, have to change the existing 10 ships to support all the small ship stuff, which is this huge amount of work, as well as changing the missiles so they work with that system, and flak so it works with those systems. So we were looking at the schedule, and Toonzilla went through it and decided that we were only going to be able to get the system out for those 10 ships. So the carrier is going to get pushed to be a ship for the following month. But the plan is, at the end of this month, we'll have proper small ship systems and missile systems and countermeasures, so all that stuff will be in for the existing ships, which means all the launch abilities will change a little bit. So you should be able to take your leash drone squadron and send them off to some fighter squadron and all that kind of stuff at the end of this month.
That sounds great. That sounds a real extra damage.
Well, we really want it, because there was a post on, somebody was asking a question about MOBAs and the fact whether being in 3D kind of breaks what a MOBA is. And something I've always said is we're not a pure MOBA. MOBA is a term that describes League, it describes Dota, Smite, Heroes of the Storm. They're very kind of specific genre of game, and we love those, and we borrow immensely from those, but we're not them. And I don't think we need... And those games have creeps that move through and kind of set a sense of doom as they approach your base or try to get to your base. We won't have those. We won't have little ships flying from one base to the other, but we will have little ships trying to capture stations, mining stations, attacking if you attack their mining station, being sent out from your ship to attack other ships, meeting in mid-space trying to attack each other. We do want that sense of scale. Some fighters and big ships, but not that sort of endless, not endless, that sounds like a bad thing, but not that sort of trail of little minions running from one base to another. So if something's come up, we don't plan to do that, but we do plan for those sort of little guys to exist in a lot of forms throughout the game.
Cool. That's one of those exciting things. If you ask, I'm up for that.
I got such high hopes for it, but I haven't even read Gilby's email yet.
Right. So that's time.
They trample all over everything. I'll find out.
Nice one. Okay, cool. So Max Thomason, evening. We've got a question from Max. Is there any news on multi-screen support?
There's no news on it. I think it's been asked before, and I think the short version is. I think Unreal probably has some natives. Unreal 4 probably has some native support for it. I don't think we've looked. What we did when we did multi-screen support for Strike Through Zero is obviously we got the game in and then adapted it to multi-screen support. I imagine extra features like that would come in later when we've got more content in, better frame rate and a number of other issues. But we've supported those kind of things before. We fully intend to support them as much as we can. But it's really a question for our TD, for Mark, and I'll leave it up to you to chase him up on it maybe. But it's something we've done.
Probably something we can cover in one of the podcasts or something.
If you that's a good idea actually.
I haven't heard From the Bridge, our new podcast. We threw out a pilot this week, so over on SoundCloud. We linked to it from the official Twitter and Facebooks, so go and check it out if you haven't.
We drag Mark, who's known as Crichton. He's not Crichton online. He's we drag him into that, and he's the man to ask about multi-screen support and any kind of hardware kind of peripheral stuff as well, and the engine questions. But
it's definitely worth checking out if you guys want to get more of an insight on the technical side, because we could talk code, we could talk even a little bit of QA and things like that.
Mark will quite happily talk about that.
Absolutely. Question from Terry over on Facebook. I think I'm having trouble with servers. I love the game, but lately all the servers are empty. I think I can answer that. We had some problems with our metrics today, didn't we?
We did, I don't know if that's that. We got a guy here, John, great French guy who runs all the metrics analysis, and he was terrified this morning because according to his metrics, we only had 33 games in the last 24 hours, which is ridiculous, because we were playing yesterday, and amongst us we had more than 40 games. So I don't think that's his problem, but we did have an issue where the metrics we have that track the games broke at that point. So it wasn't that the games didn't exist or people weren't playing, the counting of them stopped. So they're trying to resolve that. But that, sounding like the servers are empty, sounds like a different thing, because I think you'd notice that there are no games playing, although we'll chase up on it and check. As far as we understand, there's always a residual number of games going at the moment. We've reached a point where we should have games going 24 hours, but we'll check and see if there's some dead time. If there was, we'll try and find ways to alleviate it.
Sure. I mean, I think maybe even the answer is, I'm certainly looking to organise regular games.
Yeah, I mean, we posted online, obviously, good times to play when like the playtest, when we play every Thursday night, when we know there are large numbers of players going, we announce those times. So track those. But if we got a point where there's no games running, do let us know so we can have a look at the numbers and try and alleviate that.
So please do fire away with more questions, guys. We've got plenty of time left, and we're actually used up most of the pre-prepared questions now. So. In fact, all of them, I think. So, fire away if you've got anything else.
Max is picking up on the scale thing.
Oh,
I think we've always intended when we did Strike Suit, it was we actually did the opposite. We added big ships to a small ship game to get the sense of scale. But we knew adding ships that are meant to be this big, that you can't. If you just add bigger space stations, they feel small. If you add a big space, they feel small. And you have to add the small ships in to give them scale. But it's not just that. You want those scenes from Battlestar Galactica where things are flying out and there's gunshots everywhere and you've got shit that's going on. You want the scenes from Star Wars where it's just, ridiculous small fighters, big ships. That's kind of why you come to this game. So yes, we want to get it in there, and we want to get it current. Oh, server browsing. Yeah. So again, it's a shame. So Volks has just brought up server browsing is messed up. I think that's a technical term, but I'd have to check with him. So the way we have changed how servers work, and we're probably going to revert it. We changed, previously you only needed 6 people in a game to start it, and you only needed a proportion of those people to ready up to play. I'm not sure, I'd have to check with Crichton, but I believe that changed, so you needed 8 people, 4 on each side, to start a game.
Yeah.
And I think they all had to ready up, which means that if you look at the server list, you get a lot of games that have a number of people that aren't running, and then you also see a lot of games further down, not at the top, that appear to be in progress. And whereas before it always stuck the games that were not full but in progress at the top, and you never saw the games that were running. So I think that's changed, but there's some issues with it, and we'll resolve them. But what we want is to make sure games going, and if we found that change slows games down or stops people playing, we'll change it back to make sure that they're getting games more quickly.
Cool. Sounds like, I guess it's just another slight speed bump we've had, but
I mean, as we move forward and player pool increases, we'd make more and more games be 4v4 or 5v5, head that way. But if we're getting situations where there's only a few games, then we'd want to make sure that people can play 3v3.
Yeah.
We want to make sure there's no restrictions and people get a game any time of the day. But
Okay. So it's
Max is busy. Sorry, go on.
Oh, Nightbot's swooped in.
You can click it, and it will.
You can
click the timed out one. The message deleted, isn't it?
Oh, I see.
Oh, we've got the one above, haven't we? Isn't that the full question?
Oh, it's come up on the screen here. It's not come up on my laptop.
I know, we got it here. Okay.
Tech. Let's have a look. Here's a question on how debuffs work, because I've been finding conflicting information on this. Basically, does stuff like ambush or mark target work for players other than yourself? Some forum posts I saw imply they do, but from my own experience, particular instance, firing with my assassin at a target that was ambushed by another assassin did not get the damage bonus.
Yeah, and that's. I'm trying to think if there's another alternative. There are alternatives, but mark, target, and ambush are the best examples. The assassin delivers we have an assassin has a rapid fire weapon that we want to be able to do some strafe damage, but not massive. He has to land the ambush, and he has to get the damage. So the way that works, the ambush delivers a massive multiplier to his hit. Now we couldn't give that, allow that for any that massive a bonus to everybody. It would just be way too powerful. So the ambush is specific to the player that fires it. It's a limited modifier. So only the assassin, that specific assassin, gets the benefit from ambush, whereas the marked target is the sniper's buff that is applied from range, and that's for any team member. So he can actually mark target somebody that boosts his damage output from range, but also if somebody's coming, or an assassin's going to cloak, they benefit from the marked target. So you can mark target, ambush, and get incredible impact of damage, but that's ultimately why they have different names.
Yeah, sure.
But in the prototype, the original ambush was something that could only be fired from cloak, and we originally talked about doing it, but we decided that might be too restrictive, especially early on when. Talking about this last week, but it feels ridiculous now. There was a time when the assassin was hideously underpowered, and he was. Remember that? Yeah, I mean, Zared and Co will remember when it's just. It'd be 5 minutes between a kill. You'd sneak up on somebody and then nearly kill them. So those restrictions, like restricting ambush to cloak only, felt too much. But that difference is marked target means any member of your team gets the buff. Ambush is only you, and I think also the harpoon pull is only for the brawler that fires it as well. But most other ones are just across the board. So. Anybody benefits from the, but then most of them are like specific player that they slow them down. Obviously,
I guess if it's something that's directly affecting the opponent, it will, that. But with terms of those, I guess that makes sense, sort of fidelity-wise, doesn't it? I mean, if the sniper's got a sort of a spotter's role, really, in a way, isn't it? Yeah. So I guess, as I say, sort of lore / fidelity, that makes sense, really, doesn't it? And ambush, obviously.
Yeah, lore, that's something else I've got to get to.
Yeah. I remember we had that great big chat around the table. That was ace, like 3 hours of just, or whatever it was, 2 hours.
Well, sorry, this is actually us discussing something. It's nothing to do with questionnaire. Yeah, I've been chasing Chris on James so I can get you and Jam in on doing more of the stuff because they're chasing it up and I've got limited time. And I was saying that those round tables we had just kind of set up the thing were much more productive than occasions when we've had like professional guys in to try and help us out.
So we'll try and do some more of that.
DBoss work for other players yourself. So mark target is for any member of your team, and ambush is specific to you, not even another assassin on your team.
Covered that pretty well.
I think so. I hope so. If not, Maxie, just put it again or say what was missing, and we'll chase that up.
But I think, like, generally speaking, we've had a pretty good, very strong reaction to yesterday's patch. We've had some great games last night.
Yeah. We had
some awesome matches.
I think me and Toonzilla were in a game against Evolve that went on for 47 minutes, and it was just. I think the longest game I've had. There'll be longer games than this, I'm sure. The longest game I think I've had is just over an hour, but it's just. It was just a really game where it was just both teams were just pushing and it's changing of hands, and it was really good.
Yeah, we had some. I think I had one last night where Willis, another dev, bopped in on the other team. So we had sort of one. Well, I'm calling myself a dev here. I'm not, but two internal guys. Two internal guys. I'm a mascot. Two internal guys. And we had with 4 sort of outside players each, and it was there was a real competitiveness there.
Yeah, absolutely. But
we managed to. Now we got some.
I mean, talking about obviously Jingles earlier on. So Jingle has been caught in the office. We're the worst for competitiveness. We'll play test games where all you want to do is get 2 ships in the world and test out the weapon systems and make sure they work, and we will still try to win the game.
Yeah, Toonzilla screaming across the building.
You were shouting at me earlier on because I was going to win the game even though we were just testing weapon systems. But so Jingles played some games, sort of came into games where there was just the devs and got a hard time just because he got caught in like 2 teams of devs just fighting it out, desperate to win. And it's a bit insane, but yeah.
Commandos has popped up. Hey Commandos, about future updates, advanced stations A1, A2, B1 and B2 going to have some defence system, like base defences, or some way to slow a ship backdoor, slow one ship backdoor.
Yeah, so yes, if you missed earlier posts, and we've been promising like footage of what Willis has been working on, the update to the map for ages. We've given Willis some deliverables this month so we can start testing internally the work he's been doing. But what he's been doing is setting up the end game, the bases, so that they're destroyable. We'll have shield components you take down, a core you destroy. Those bases will have turrets, they will launch fighters, so that will be involved. But also the forward stations will have detection areas, healing areas. They'll have destructible, the shields you see at the stations will be destructible and will repair, and jump inhibitors to block jumps. So there's a whole load of systems there that will come into play and will change the way that you approach those stations, whilst maintaining the jump restrictions that we've got in. Actually, Zerid originally suggested the jumps on the leaps from the stations to the centre and then game. So that stuff should be really interesting. Hopefully, if we get some deliverables in and testing this month, amongst everything else, we'll try and get some video out. But yeah, that also ties into the small ship stuff because they'll be using those to attack.
No, of course. I remember when we did a little internal test on that, didn't we, in trying to get some cap to release the video, and it was...
hadn't had enough testing at that point.
It went a bit wrong, didn't it? I think if I remember correctly, someone one-shotted the base, didn't they?
the base had been set up to deal with AOE, and it just
that was it.
Got, destroyed by a flag.
But we'll that's something that's again it's going to that will change the game really, won't it? It'll be such a dynamic change.
Well, I think it'll be. I mean, one, it will make it more involved. The area that are put in on the bases is always meant to be temporary until we get those systems. We had turrets in the prototype when we did it. We had turrets that defended the base and turrets that defended the forward stations and even the mining stations. And we always wanted to get those back in, and we're only just to the point where we can start putting that kind of stuff in. But those areas are always intended to be a temporary placeholder for that system, and it's like it'd be great to get that in. And also be more in-world if you're being attacked by turrets and fighters than a strange globe of death. But
it's been because obviously you take damage from the bases already, don't you, a little bit?
Yeah, but not in any visible way. It just kind of happens.
It's just sort of you melt.
And that works for testing and works for getting a game that's competitive, but it doesn't really feel like part of our world.
That's right. Right. Just double checking the on the socials here, but it seems like I think we've actually managed to cover everything. We've actually
lock weapon button.
Here we go.
Yeah. So I'm going to choose to read that a certain way.
Sure.
And let me know if I'm not. Is it fun? Yeah. Let me know if I'm misinterpreting the question. But tanks has on right click on tanks when you play World of Tanks. You can choose to free move the camera around the tank while locking your turret in a specific direction.
Right. Gotcha.
It's incredibly useful to basically keep moving and look around. So we are talking about we wouldn't call it a lock weapon button, we call it a free camera button, where basically you can choose to move your camera on ship without moving the turrets or the aiming on your ship. So the most obvious example is the sniper. He has a slow moving massive turret, much like tanks does, and you want to keep it pointed in a certain direction. If you want to look behind you, you'd press that button and be able to look behind you. We are fully intending to get that in. It's meant to go in this month, and I can't see any problems with that. But hopefully, if that's what you're looking for, that is going in. If it's not, let us know, and we'll sort it out.
It's definitely something that'd be pretty handy. Isn't it?
We have a lot of guys that play internally, that play LOL, that play Here's the Storm a lot, play League, and World of Tanks, and every other game under the sun. But that kind of free look option's been asked for ages, just because it's such a fundamental part of moving in tanks.
Cool. Well, as I say, I think we've pretty much answered everything here, guys. So unless there's any last-minute questions, I think we've have we got anything massive to talk about?
Well, I think I talked about it last time, but we're meant to be trying to get 2 ships every month. As I say, that might be tricky this month. We're trying to get all the small ship behaviour in on the existing 10 ships and making that work well, so it doesn't just come out and be damp squib or anything. But we will definitely get at least 1 additional ship in this month, and if we do, that ship will be the mid-range Titan defence ship.
Right.
This has been asked for, I know Sarah asked for ages ago, and a number of other people, because we have this lovely new line that has these gorgeous ships, and they're always little ones.
I love Titan.
So the new one, it's probably going to be called, at least currently called, the Reaper. It's mid-sized ship.
Oh, I saw Hans working on this.
Scary looking. It's an awesome little thing, and well, not little. It's like over 1 kilometre long. But it'll put a meaty ship on the Titan line, and we're kind of looking forward to that.
I love the Titan, the whole design thing. So
it's nice. We got that. I mean, the aim was always to have the manufacturers kind of appeal to different styles of different players, but also different sort of like sci-fi movies.
Yeah, the different like schools of design.
Yeah, you've got like on the rig ships, you've got kind of Cygnus from Black Hole, and you've got the ship from Silent Running, and you've got the kind of like functional kind of construction kind of ships.
Almost like the sort of a weaponized Nostromo sort of thing going on. The sort of, let's say, functional industrial.
Yeah, very sort of industrial kind of look to them. I mean, the Cygnus, I guess, is the big reference, and then on the NASA, what we used to call them the NASA ships, but the USR ships, those kind of very much how you expect a spaceship to look. Not necessarily offensive, but like they feel white and sleek, and they look cool, and rockets and stuff. And then Titan was always meant to be the military manufacturer, so it just comes with a whole bag of cool. Definitely. And I
always think of the Sulaco.
Exactly. All those like the Alien ships and the Halo ships as well. They just look like weapons.
Yeah,
they look
definitely.
Yeah, and I think the guys that have been building the Titan defense system, Sean in California, who's built the models, and Long, who does a lot of the design. Long is now 80% through the Titan defense heavy.
Right, nice.
Which it would be, when we had it, would be the largest ship in the game.
Oh, this will be what we saw yesterday in terms
so we got the midship coming, that'll come this month, but then we're a bit impatient for it, but then there's a Titan defense heavy coming, and we're looking forward to that. But yeah, so this is kind of like good news, bad news. So we want to get the mid-range Titan defense which is coming. The other ship we're meant to get done this week is a new USR heavy,
right?
Which is the Destroyer, which is my attempt to get broadsiding back in.
Yes.
So it's basically a huge ship with massive, not quite sniper turrets, but massive turrets and sets on each side and big guns.
I'm all over that.
Yeah, that would be good. But that may not sneak in because we've got all the small ships to do. But yeah, we'll try.
I've been playing so much Black Flag lately, so I've got broadside fever. I'm all over that.
That's awesome. Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Well, I think we've pretty much answered everyone's questions here. We've got just a couple of fast responses.
Text moving around the screen.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yes.
New feature.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. But I think that pretty much wraps us up for tonight. Any more questions? Please fire them over. If you've missed this, if you watch it on the playback, and we can answer them in from the Bridge podcast
or
the forums playtest. Well, tomorrow night, myself and Crispy will be. Who's producing behind the camera tonight over there? Who you've been seeing playing the game. We'll be streaming the game tomorrow night. So. Check in and see what we think of the takeaway we've ordered, and and watch me get shot down repeatedly. But yeah, sling us questions, forums, Twitter, Facebook, all the usual channels. There's links on the Twitch page here. So thanks very much for joining us, and thanks to Jim for joining me tonight.
Cheers, Sam, and thanks everybody, and see you out there.
Hope you enjoy the new patch, guys.